Hello, I'm Alec, and today we're going to be looking at learning theories. The objective is to develop a teaching strategy through the understanding of various teaching theories and an understanding of how to apply them. We'll be looking at 5 learning theories: behaviourism, cognitivism, humanism, social construction, and situated learning. They each have a different focus of importance and approach, and there are some interesting overlaps and differences. This teaching strategy will be aimed at adolescent learners. The adolescent have a particular set of characteristics. They are naturally inquisitive if the content holds their interest, and will explore subjects intriguing to them. This can make problem-solving based learning highly productive. They also benefit from reflective exercises, collaborative work, and interactions with various senses. It has been found that visual aids increase the learner's memory and comprehension. Adishva et al. Behaviours are learnt through interactions. Behaviourism considers observable changes in behaviours to be a direct response to environmental stimuli. These stimuli are considered to be exclusively influence the learner's behaviour regardless of inherited factors. In this sense, the mind is born empty, meaning no behaviour is primal. As Skinner put it, behaviour is a product of personal history and current setting. Bogerson. Therefore, behaviour can be learnt through operant and classical conditioning. Operant conditioning is learning behaviour through the consequences of one's actions. Classical conditioning is learning behaviour through associating 2 separate stimuli so that the reaction of one becomes the reaction to both. In 1897, Ivan Pavlov published the findings of experimentation through classical conditioning. Before feeding a dog, Pavlov would first ring a bell. After numerous repetitions, the dog began to associate the sound of the bell with food, and would react to the bell as if it was the food being presented. Later, Skinner proved operant conditioning with pigeons. He set them to a game of ping-pong. The winner of each round would get to eat, so the pigeons learnt the desired behaviour in order to receive a reward. Using this theory, patience could be taught through conditioning. As a rule, adolescent learners aren't naturally patient. Providing successful patience with a reward desirable to them would teach them beneficial consequences for desirable behaviour. However, this theory does have its drawbacks. Learners are engaged only to produce correct results, and this is seen as successful conditioning. In behaviourism, emotions are immeasurable and therefore ignored. Testing can be considered unethical, as with Watson and Rogers' Little Albert experiment. You can't force someone to learn. Learning is a natural consequence of thinking. Contrary to behaviourism, changes in character are considered merely an indication of what's occurring in the learner's head. This is a reversal of the focus when compared to the previous theory, where the internal factors were negligible and the exterior factors were sought after. Cognitivism focuses on the mind's processes when recording information. Answering questions prompts learners to consider and articulate what they know. If further prompted to expand their answers, they develop a level of understanding on the topic. This keeps it circulating the short-term memory as maintenance rehearsal, but also builds upon previous knowledge. Answering incorrectly can be beneficial as well, as it shows the learner they haven't yet grasped the concept, and also provides a level of understanding in and of itself. Applied to the classroom, it is important to allow children to answer in an environment where failure is acceptable, so that all learners improve on their understanding of concepts. Providing all learners not only the ability but the willingness to show their understanding would be a hurdle worth overcoming. I found having to convey my understanding to another improves my understanding of the topic. It forces me to consider what I know and how to articulate it such that it can be understood by another, which in turn develops a greater grasp of the concept for me. As with the theory before, cognitivism does have its flaws. The cognitive approach to learning doesn't require an outward exhibition of knowledge, but rather the internal processes and connections taking place during learning. However, from a teaching perspective, you require evidence they understand, so as much as you teach, you need to see that you have taught. Learning is a personal act to fulfill one's potential. Learners have personal agency or free will and choose to better oneself and improve the world, but each in their own way. The humanistic approach looks favourably on an individual's ability to move past hardships in their lives. Rogers' approach to learning was that you cannot teach a learner, you can only facilitate their learning process. An individual's reactions and response to any given situation is based on their personal perception of the situation and their past experiences. which is notably similar to the core beliefs of behaviourists. Abraham Maslow took this a step further with his hierarchy of needs. An individual wants to improve themselves and the world around them, but first certain levels of needs have to be met. When operating a classroom, the learner's basic and safety needs must be met. These are the first concerns of any individual within an environment. Next, you need to form a connection with the students so they feel they belong. Finally, you need to present them with a level of respect, recognition, and freedom. Only then will they seek to improve themselves and the world beyond. Rather than seeing them as mutually exclusive, connect academics with a level of personal care for learners. Elderbrook et al. In grade 4, I moved to a new school. In relation to Maslow's hierarchy, the first two needs had been fulfilled, but I wasn't yet feeling a sense of belonging. And because of that, I was more focused on myself than on the world around me. I wasn't striving to be my best or to help others, but as time progressed, I moved through the layers and saw a difference in how I saw myself and how others saw me. Actively fulfilling a learner's needs pushes the focus off those needs and onto developing themselves in a productive manner. Social worlds develop from an individual's interactions within their society. Every conversation presents an opportunity for new knowledge to be learnt or an expansion on existing knowledge. It develops as a result of social interactions and language use, and is therefore a shared experience between all present. I feel this idea is very evident today, as individuals adapt to an ever-changing society, and in turn society adapts to the changing demographic of individuals. Hines states there is no knowledge independent of the meaning attributed to the experience constructed by the learner. Bogerson. Hence, instruction should be designed to support the learners to construct their foundation of knowledge. John Drury considered the foundation of this ideology, wanted to shift learning from repetitive memorization to practical workshops, grounded in real-world examples to provide learners with the ability to demonstrate understanding. This is designed to consider it facilitating the students' learning rather than you teaching them. Question a student's answer, whether it's right or wrong, providing them the ability to explain and expand on their answers. Allow students to test, query, and validate their own ideas. Brunner felt instruction should be connected to contexts that make the students willing and able to learn. This fits strongly with the strengths of an adolescent learner, providing them the space and ability to explore what they know. Testing what works and for them to compare their findings would be an advisable way for teaching adolescent students. Learning is unintentional and takes place within a community of practice. Communities of practice hold three prerequisites: a shared domain of interest, a community of individuals looking to explore the domain, and repetition within the field. Learning takes place within the group through experimentation and learning off one another, building a collective knowledge through collaboration. And immediately we see connections with the social construction theory. However, with situated learning, knowledge is gained through regular interactions. But knowledge is not abstract. Gained knowledge is tied to the context it was learnt through. Therefore, to present knowledge to learners, the setting should be authentic, meaning the setting would usually hold or relate to the knowledge you're trying to convey. So in order to teach learners, they need to be provided with a context that holds the knowledge, and to allow them to explore the setting they find themselves in. For example, to teach the concept of trading, you might initiate a role-playing scenario. Sort the students into small groups, label them with markets and consumers, allowing them to simulate what they're learning. So we've looked at 5 main theories, each with a different perspective. Now we want to design a productive teaching strategy targeted at the adolescent learners. First, you need to establish a safe and welcoming community so that they are focused on striving to develop themselves, as well as an environment where answering questions is seen as a positive approach, regardless of whether the answer is correct. Second is to hold their attention with various lesson formats, present with more than just text, and if possible create simulations with real-world examples for them to explore. Finally, provide them with the ability to reflect on what they've learnt, individually and in groups, to establish long-term memory. Thank you.